need you.
Awesome.
Ready, guys? So, all of you junior staff that are in here today, what do you think your staff member right now is Alexis? She's in the room with you. I want you guys to take a guess at what her first job was.
A teacher.
Any guesses?
A teacher.
As a first job, okay? Any other ones? Maybe before teacher.
Probably working at like a restaurant or a fast food place.
Okay, that's a very good guess. Yes, a lot of people start out in restaurant or fast food. Any other guesses?
At a grocery store.
Perfect, at a grocery store. Alexis, think back to your preteen, teen years. What was your very first job?
So I babysat, so that might be one. But if that one doesn't count, I was a volleyball referee and kind of did that like carry out food. I answered the phones for pizza delivery. It was a 2-in-1 job.
So Alexis, when you were a babysitter, how old were you?
I was probably 12.
And did you get paid?
Yes.
That was your first job. Your first job where you were actually getting a paycheck instead of just cash was probably volleyball reffing or doing your pizza job. How old were you for those?
Those ones I was 16.
16.
Yep.
Awesome. So you guys, in the room here, we got, I think all of you are over 12 years old. Maybe Isabel's in 6th grade. Maybe you're not quite 12. But you could totally be working, and some of you might be already. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Here we are. If you guys could raise your hands, and I have you really tiny on my screen, so I'm going to kind of split. But how many of you have had a job already? And it could be one where you just got paid money, like cash or a check. Whoa, that hand went up high and fast. Or you've had an actual job where you get a paycheck. Okay, so it looks like we have, is it 2 hands? Can you guys let me know what you've done for work already?
Lily does this.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Babysit.
Awesome, babysit.
I babysat. Then I've also rang bells license. And I got like a tiny paycheck for that. And then I got a little.
Great.
And then I got a little food stand that I worked at the carnival.
Nice. Awesome. So you've had a few different paid job experiences. Good for you guys. So I don't know if Alexis has her computer ready at all.
Yes, I tried to do the HDMI hookup, but then I think it'll disconnect your screen, so I don't want to unplug it. So I might just play them from my computer.
Could this be something you can have the kids watch later?
Yeah, we could do that.
Okay. So here's the assignment. The technology isn't being cooperative with us today. There was a project put out a number of years ago where people that were famous celebrities were interviewed about their first job. And I've got 4 folks here. I have Betty White, who is probably one of the oldest actresses still around with us.
You know her?
About her first job.
I watched a lot of the old match game. That's where I saw Betty White.
Yes, absolutely. And her young days. Jimmy Fallon, the late night host, is a comedian and actor, talks about his first job. Omar F. talks about his first job. He is an actor as well. And then a gentleman named Alonzo Mourning, who is a retired NBA basketball player, talks about his job. And his are very interesting in what he learned. So I want you guys to watch these. Alexis has the link. And to see how these people think about their first job, what they learned from them, and why they think that experience was important. And they range from things that you think sound like really cool jobs to things like you did not want to do. Jimmy Fallon has one job that you wouldn't want to do. All right, moving on. We're going to skip this because this is part of watching those. So something after watching those videos, you're going to see that sometimes jobs that people have as first jobs may relate to a path that they're going to go on for future jobs, or maybe totally not anything that they're going to build a career out of. And both are totally acceptable. So we're going to look at my job history now. I want to ask you guys a question. I'm going to give you some information about myself, and I want to see if you can guess how many jobs I've had. So here's some information about me. I have have lived in Wausau for 14 years. I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree, and I'm 40 years old. Can you guys take a guess as to how many jobs I've had?
9.
9. Good guess, Ryan. Any other guesses?
Anywhere from 5 to 10.
5 to 10. Now, if we're thinking back and talking about you guys having first jobs. When you're
I haven't had a
11,
first job.
12 years old. Anybody else like you think maybe I've had more than that?
20 to 35.
Ooh, 20 to 35, we're going big. I like it. Well, actually, as large as that sounds, this is how many jobs I've had.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I think if you counted it, 22 maybe? I don't know, I haven't counted lately. So, and I just added another one. So working for the club, I got hired as the CareerLaunch director, but currently I'm mainly doing a different role. So I added it as a different type of job. I haven't left my employer, but what I'm doing significantly has changed. So when you look at this, and I've kind of broken it into colors. So that top chunk that's in that teal color, those are all jobs that I had before I graduated from high school. I started babysitting when I was 11. Okay, and I moved into nannying where I'd be with kids overnight, and I made tons of money doing that. That was my first job. I had a really good thing going. I had lots of families that were loyal to me, or that I was loyal to, that would hire me all the time. So I did a lot of things in high school. The ones in yellow are the ones I did when I was in college. I went to UW Stevens Point. The ones in purple, well, the ones in yellow were the ones I did while I was in college, but back home, my hometown in Appleton, not on the college campus. The ones that are in purple are ones that I did either right after my college experience or while I was in college on campus. The ones in yellow were jobs that I did once I had my degree. And the ones in gray I did, or that greenish yucky color, I did those in graduate school. And then the very last chunk, that light purple and gray color, I've done since I got my graduate degree. When you look at this, it's a lot of random stuff, but there are themes to my employment. I like working with people. I like working in activities. And I like writing. There's a lot of tutoring and English writing and all that stuff that comes out in here as well. But working with students is a big thing in there too. Just because I was an usher at the Timber Rattler Stadium, which is the minor league baseball team that is attached to the Brewers, basically I help people find their seats and call paramedics when we needed to. That didn't
I
mean
thought
that I
it was
wanted to work
major league.
in sports forever, but it was one of my jobs. So all these jobs doesn't mean that I have to be in forever. Of all these jobs, I've never been fired. So a lot of them ended because the season ended, maybe at the end of summer. Some of them ended because I left the campus. Some of them ended because I got a new opportunity and went to go do that, which is how I went from my job at Walk the West to come to the club. So you can have lots of jobs and not have bad experiences leaving those jobs. So we're going to talk a little bit about filling out a job application, which you guys all did for junior staff. You don't have to have work experience to fill out that application. Just check the time, sorry about that. It's okay if you don't have experience. You can write all kinds of things about your experience at the club on the job application. It could be informal stuff, like doing junior staff is technically an informal job experience because you're not getting paid, but those things are work skills. So go ahead and put those on future applications. Volunteer experience is absolutely something to list. Your school involvement, are you in student council? Are you in a different type of club? Are you in a sport? Do you have a leadership thing that you do? And then you list people for references. And I want you guys to all think of, bless you, Ryan, I want you to all think of somebody at the club, don't say it out loud, but think of a staff member or volunteer at the club that would be your person to have as a reference. And I want you to have a discussion with them, and it should be brief. But I would like you at some point to have a discussion with them and say, hey, I think that you and I have a good relationship. I was wondering if I could use you as a reference if I ever need one in the next year or so. And they probably say, absolutely, okay. But I want you to reach out to that staff person so they know that you might use them as a reference. But also teachers, your homeroom teacher, school counselor, an advisor, a coach, somebody from your church are all good references. Your mom, your dad, your aunts and uncles, brothers and sisters, other relatives are not references for you. They love you, and that's wonderful, but they can't be a reference for you on the job application. We need somebody else that can talk about you and your responsibility, your skills, maybe your work ethic, your timeliness, and we need that to come from someone else.
So for example, some of our staff that work here also are taking classes in college because they're going to be moving on to careers that they've been studying for after this. And so they come to me and they say, Alexis, I've worked with you a lot at the club. Can you write me a reference or write a letter or be a reference for me? So that would be an example of kind of finding those people that you work well with, that you'd be able to have for that.
And I don't want you guys to be afraid to meet with people in your school too. Those staff know you really well. And it does not have to be a teacher that you're getting the best grade in their class, but it could be a teacher that you know you have a good working relationship with and they know you as a person. And that you feel like they would say things about you that would be true and honest about who you are and who you feel you are. So think about those folks too. I have been references like Alexis to hundreds of teenagers and young adults and adults. I was just a reference a few weeks ago for a friend of mine who's an adult looking for a good job, and I got contacted by that employer and had to fill out this huge online survey about her and her work ethic and what I thought she was capable of doing. So it's good to have people that you know that can say great things about you. So you guys are, a lot of you are middle school. You are not eligible for a job yet that requires a work permit until you're 14. So most employers will not hire you for like paycheck jobs until you're 14 years old. Once you're 14, you have to get something called a work permit, which is basically a signed piece of paper that says that you, your parents or guardian, and the employer know that you have a job and that you're not 16 yet, and you have to follow certain regulations, which means your employer can't force you to work certain hours really late at night or too many hours during the week. You guys will be eligible for work permits when you're freshmen, typically. Okay? You get that permit at school. You can get it at Wassa East, you can get it at Wassa West, you can get it at DC Everett, but everybody here is Wassa East. So once you're 14, even in the summers, they get it in the main office. You just go in and say, I need a work permit. It's $10 for a work permit. Your employer should pay for it, which means you go out, you get a job, get hired, then you have to get the work permit. And then employer either gives you money to get the work permit, or they give you that money in your first check. They give you an extra $10 to cover it. So you don't get up to that to get hired, but just know you're really close to that age where you're going to need a work permit for jobs, and it's not scary. And you only need it when you're 14 and 15. So Ryan doesn't need it because he's older than that now. Currently, you guys have probably heard a little bit in the news about the minimum wage and wanting to raise it to $15 an hour. Right now in Wisconsin, just like other places, minimum wage is $7.25. So that means that you could be hired for a job and be paid $7.25, which is the minimum wage. It's the same for a kid as it would be for an adult. However, there are lots of jobs out there that do pay more than minimum wage, even for those first job type of employment opportunities. Do you guys have any questions before I move on?
No.
I know my parents won't let me get a job because sometimes they can't trust me to have good behavior. That's why I sometimes have bad behavior. They won't let me get my own job and not here.
Well, I think
That's
junior staff is a great start then, Ryan, to start showing them that.
That's why they don't want me to get my own job right away.
Okay.
And is that required or not required, Carol?
You are not required to have a job, Ryan. However, you are lucky in that you get job training at school. So you are fortunate that you have a program that provides some of that for you.
Yeah.
Okay? Okay. All right. So when we look at, this is a chart that you guys don't have to know and you don't have to memorize, but basically once you become 14 and 15, you are restricted to how many hours a day you can work. On a school day, you could work 3 hours, but you cannot work more than that. During a school week, you could only work 18 hours, but if it was spring break or summer, you could work up to 40 hours in a week. That's considered considered full-time employment, 40 hours. That's what Alexis does. That's what a lot of adults do, is they have a 40-hour-a-week job. When you guys start working, there's this thing called, this is all part of something called child labor laws, but the labor laws say you cannot work during the school day unless it's a school-approved program. So if you get hired at a grocery store and they want you to work every Friday at 12 o'clock, you can't do that because you have to be in school. Even if you have study hall, you still can't work during that time. You can work after the school day is over, after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, whenever the day is over. So that's something that the employers have to know. They have to understand that law and follow it. You do not have to know it, but it's nice to know it. This stuff should be posted at your schools as well. Probably not the middle schools yet, but at the high schools, it should be posted probably in the counseling office or the career center, so students know their rights and what they have to follow and what their employers have to follow. It just doesn't matter for if you deliver newspapers, you can work 7 days a week instead of 6. And if you work in agriculture, like on a farm, you can work more than 6 days a week, work 7 days a week. So employers are looking for, we've talked a little bit about this in other discussions the past few weeks. They are looking for you guys to be on time, work well with other people, be responsible, be coachable. Remember, being coachable means you don't have to be the best at something. You don't have to know how to do something, but you have to be willing to learn how to do it and to listen to the person who is the expert trying to teach you and to follow those directions to be able to do that task. If you want to work or want to be hardworking, you problem solve, professional, so professionalism, and positive attitude. So for you guys, let's say you get a job at the Humane Society, okay? And they're gonna have you, it's a paid position and you get to clean kennels. So professionalism at the Humane Society is going to look different than professionalism for my job. I wouldn't go in there wearing a blazer, and nice pants and nice shoes to go clean kennels. I would follow whatever their rules are for dress code, which are probably, closed-toed shoes, pants, probably not your best pants, because there's a chance you're gonna get pretty nasty. But professionalism means something at different places, and it's more than just your outfit. It's also your mannerisms, your attitude, the way you talk with other people. Are you a good listener? Those all fall into that. Again, when we're thinking about people to be your references, we want folks that can talk about some of these things. We want people that know that you are maybe responsible and on time, or that you solved a problem before and they can talk about it, or that you always have a good attitude at the club or at class, or when there's something that you're struggling with, how you improve your attitude. So these are a great list of qualities to look for when you're thinking about a person to be a reference. These are things that they should know about you. So when you guys start looking for jobs, and if it's not at the club, if it's outside of the club, here's an example of some local employers that hire at 14 or hire at 15. So when you're 14, there's a few hotels that will hire for housekeeping. There's some restaurants that will start hiring for you. And then there's a few stores that will hire as well, and some outdoor recreation. I know a lot of people say, fast food, I don't want that to be my first job. How many of you know somebody who had their first job in fast food? Me too. Okay. My husband, who's a forester now, his first job was when he was 14 working at McDonald's. And he didn't love it, but it helped him build a work ethic, start saving money. He was eventually able to buy his own used pickup truck in high school, help pay for some of his own college because he worked. But today, as my husband, I benefit from that first job because he makes the best egg sandwiches out of anybody I've ever met. So it's great. But as a high school student, I've worked with high school students that have worked at McDonald's and then have worked up to become trainers, and then paid more because they're just under management and they're training other people on how to do their job. I have a former student who is a manager at the local Culver on Bridge Street, and she started out with working at a high school. She got a college degree, but she stuck around so she could work with Culver. She loved the company, and and does really great things. At 15, a lot of the grocery stores will hire at 15. YMCA will hire at 15. The cinema, Cedar Creek is always looking for teenagers to work. The aquatic center, other restaurants like Subway, and the Grand Lodge. So if you guys think of people that work in food service at 14 or 15, there are a few things you can't do. As 14 and 15-year-olds, you might still be able to be hired there, but you can't do it. So if you're hired at McDonald's and you're not 15 yet, you can't use a fryer to like fry French fries and stuff. If you're hired at Subway and you're not 16, you can't do the meat slicer yet. So there's a few regulations you have to follow. All right. Since we didn't watch those videos, we wrapped up a little bit early. Do you guys have, let me ask you a question here. So for those of you that are, we've had some first jobs already, I would like you to go around the table and just share with me how you think you'll be when you'll try to get your first part-time job with, you know, the real paycheck at 14 or 15 or 16. And where do you think you'd like to work?
Where do you think you'd be interested in having that first time job?
Well, my brother is my stepbrother is 16 and works at McDonald's. So
Oh, where?
McDonald's.
McDonald's?
Yeah.
How was that been for him?
That I guess.
Okay. Is that something you think you would like to try too?
I kind of know what that is.
At Triggs? Okay. Cool. Emma, you want to share what you would be interested in?
I'd probably be McDonald's because it's close to my house.
That's a great thing to think about because you need a way to get there and you can probably be more available if you can walk there. I don't know if you can walk, but getting there that way, and especially if you need that ride, right?
And my best friend currently works there, and she enjoys it because it's easier for her to pick up her sister and then get to know what.
Right. Maybe she can put in a good word too. If she already works there, it's always a good thing to have connections. Abby, you want to share yours?
I just when I was 15, I'd be working at Grand
Grand Lodge. Is that as like a lifeguard or something? Do you know, Carol? Or is it
It's not like it says Grand Lodge.
at Grand Lodge Water Park?
Grand Lodge.
Okay.
Yep. Yep, there's a lot of opportunities there. You can be a lifeguard at 15, you used to be 16, but Grand Lodge will also hire for, there's slide watching, and you don't have to be a lifeguard for that. You can be 15, and that can be arcade and the food area too.
Cool. Abby, sorry, Emma, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, for me, I would start at 14
At 14.
because then when I turn 14, which is close to the end of the school year, I'd have the whole summer.
Ah.
And also, I would be 14 and I wouldn't have to worry about like school hours and getting my schoolwork done. And also being able to save up for college when after high school and being able to buy my own things without having to ask my parents.
Awesome. That's always a thing to think ahead about.
Is that everybody?
Lily, do you have an idea of where you would want to work?
Haven't really thought about
Haven't thought about it? Did you get any good ideas from seeing that on there? Yeah, good. Because it's important to like be able to see the options you have, right? Sometimes you aren't able to know.
So before I go, I just want to end with this. I know that as a kid, you've got all kinds of adults in your life that will continue to tell you, you have to figure out what you're going to do with your life. You have to figure out what type of job you want in your future. You know, it's club staff, it's parents, it's counselors, it's teachers, it's grandma that say these things to you. I want you to know that a first job is your first step to thinking about your future, and it's your first step for preparing for it. And it might not be the job of your dreams, it might be the job that you're qualified for or is available to you. Maybe it's because it's in walking distance from your home. But at that job is where you're going to start building your skills. You're going to start learning about yourself. You're going to start learning what you like and don't like in a workplace, what you like and don't like in a coworker or in a boss. You're going to learn a lot about who you are through those pieces of employment. So you can start building towards that future that seems super far away at the moment, right when you're 14, or even now at 11 or 12 years old, babysitting or mowing the neighbor's lawn or whatever it would be. You can start building those skills now. So you guys are all capable, doing it already to your staff. So I'm super proud of you. It is an opportunity for you to learn in a safe and fun environment from staff that really like helping kids reach their goals. So you guys are really fortunate. And I know it's time for dinner. Alexis, anything else?
I think that's it. Thank you, Carol, for dealing with that. We'll have to figure out the speaker situation, but we appreciate it. So thanks for waiting.
Guys,
What do you guys say?
Thank you.
Bye.
bye guys. Have a great night.